She stood there, staring at the blank paper, and her hand would not stop shaking. But here is the thing. She was not scared, she was certain, and that certainty was killing her. For 20 years, she painted the same way. Every detail had to be perfect. Every line had to be controlled. Every mistake had to be fixed. Perfection was not just her goal anymore. It was her prison. But today, in this tiny studio in Kyoto, an old master was about to destroy everything she believed about art, about control, and about life itself. Watch this. He dipped his brush into black ink, held it above the paper for exactly 3 breaths, and then made one single stroke. That stroke was not perfect. It was not even symmetrical, but somehow it was more alive than anything she had ever created in 2 decades. Right there, in that moment, she finally understood what Japanese painters discovered hundreds of years ago. The secret to making something truly powerful is not adding more and more and more. It is knowing what to leave out. This is the ancient art of sumi-e. And if you have ever felt stuck because you needed everything to be exactly right, what you are about to discover will not just change how you create, it will change how you live. Chapter 1. The Woman Who Could Not Breathe. Her name was Aiko, and she was suffocating. Not literally, but you know that feeling, right? When expectations press down on your chest so hard you cannot catch your breath? That was her life. She had spent 20 years studying Western painting, oil on canvas, layer after layer after layer, building up dimension, creating depth, fixing mistakes, painting over errors, starting fresh when things went wrong. It was beautiful work, sure, but God, it was exhausting. Every single painting took weeks, sometimes months, and with every brushstroke, she felt this crushing weight of needing everything to be perfect. She could not breathe freely. She could not create without overthinking. She could only execute someone else's rules. Control everything. Make it perfect. Do it again. Over and over. Then one afternoon, she was walking through the streets of Kyoto, and something made her freeze in her tracks. Through a small studio window, she saw a man painting. But he was not painting like she painted. His movements were fast, confident, final, 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3. And just like that, a branch of cherry blossoms appeared on the paper. It was not photorealistic. It did not have the tiny details Western art demands. But somehow it felt more real than anything she had created in her entire career. It was like he captured not what the blossoms looked like, but what they felt like. Their soul, their energy, their breath. She stood there, completely frozen, just watching him. And when he finished, when he put down his brush and stepped back, she did something she had never done before in her life. She walked straight into that studio, and she asked him to teach her. Chapter 2. The 4. Sacred Treasures. The master's name was Tanaka-sensei. He was 78 years old, and his studio had this smell, ink, old paper, and something else you could not quite name. Peace, maybe. When Aiko walked in, he did not say hello. He did not ask her why she was there. He just placed 4 simple objects in front of her on the tatami mat: a brush, a stick of ink, an inkstone, and 1 sheet of rice paper. "These are the 4 treasures," he said softly. "In sumi-e, we do not need much. We only need what matters. Look at this brush." It was nothing like her Western brushes. It was soft, flexible, made from animal hair tied to bamboo. "When you hold this brush," he told her, "you are not trying to control it. You are guiding it. And trust me, there is a huge difference between those 2 things. Then the ink stick, solid, black, ancient looking. To make ink, he showed her, you grind this stick against the stone with a little water, slowly, like meditation. This is not just preparation, he explained. This is already practice. You are already painting, even right now. The inkstone was smooth and carved, worn down by decades of use. It held the water and ink together, creating the medium that would turn thought into form. And then the rice paper, so thin, almost fragile. One stroke and the ink would soak straight in. Immediately, permanently. There was no erasing, no painting over, no second chances, no safety net. What you create in sumi-e, Tanaka-sensei said, looking directly at her, must be created with total commitment. Every stroke is final. Every choice is permanent. This is why sumi-e is not just about painting. It is about philosophy. It is about how to live. Aiko felt her chest get tight again. Wait, no corrections, no layers, no room for mistakes? How was she supposed to create anything meaningful under those conditions? But Tanaka-sensei just smiled at her. That is exactly why you will. Chapter 3. The stroke that changes everything here is what blew my mind about this story. For the entire first week, Aiko did not paint a single thing. She only ground ink, slowly, rhythmically, just breathing and grinding. Tanaka-sensei would sit next to her in silence, just watching. Then one morning he said, "You are impatient. You want to create something, but you have not learned how to prepare yet. Sumi-e begins in stillness, not in action. Second week, she learned how to hold the brush, not with a tight grip, not with control, but lightly, gently, like you are holding something alive. The brush should be an extension of your breath," Tanaka-sensei told her, "not your hand, your breath." Think about that for a second. Third week, she learned the actual strokes. And here's the beautiful part. There were not that many. In sumi-e, everything gets built from just a few essential movements. The bone stroke, strong, decisive. This creates the structure of bamboo, the veins in leaves, the branches of trees. Then the flesh stroke, soft, expressive. This makes flower petals, the bodies of birds, the flow of water. Each stroke had a reason. Each stroke meant something specific. But the most important lesson? That came in week 4. Tanaka-sensei placed a blank sheet of rice paper in front of her and simply said, "Paint bamboo." Aiko completely froze. She had never painted bamboo in her life. She did not know the proportions, the technical details, the exact way leaves curved or how stalks grew. But Tanaka-sensei was waiting, so she dipped her brush, held it above the paper, and then she hesitated. That hesitation right there, Tanaka-sensei said, that is your enemy. In sumi-e, there is no time for doubt. You have to know what you will paint before your brush even touches paper. You have to see it finished in your mind first. And then you have to commit, fully, no holding back. Aiko closed her eyes. She thought about bamboo, not the tiny details, just the feeling, the strength, the flexibility, how it bends when wind hits it but never actually breaks. And when she opened her eyes again, she just painted. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3, 5, 7. And suddenly, right there on the paper, bamboo appeared. It was not perfect. The lines were not symmetrical. The proportions were not technically correct. But you know what? It was alive. And for the first time in 20 years, Aiko felt like she could actually breathe. Chapter 4. The Philosophy of Emptiness. Okay, so listen to what Tanaka-sensei told her next, because this completely changed everything. What you need to understand, he said, is that sumi-e is not really about what you paint. It is about what you choose not to paint, He pointed at the bamboo she had just created. See those white spaces? All that emptiness around the bamboo? That emptiness is not actually empty. It is full, full of air, full of possibility, full of breath. In Western painting, you fill up every inch of the canvas. In sumi-e, you respect the emptiness. This idea actually has a name in Japanese. Ma. It means the space between things, like the pause between notes in music, the silence between words in a conversation, the emptiness between your brushstrokes. In Japanese philosophy, Tanaka-sensei kept going, we believe that meaning does not live in things themselves. It lives in the relationships between things. The empty space around your bamboo is just as important as the bamboo itself. Maybe even more important, because that space is where the viewer gets to breathe, where they get to imagine, where they finish the painting in their own mind. Aiko just stared at her work. Her whole life, she believed that more detail automatically meant more meaning, that her job as an artist was to show everything, to leave nothing open to interpretation, to control exactly what people saw. But now she was seeing something completely different by leaving space, by suggesting instead of defining everything, by creating with restraint instead of excess. She had actually invited the viewer into the painting. She made them a partner in creation, and that was way more powerful than any amount of detail could ever be. This is the real secret of sumi-e, Tanaka-sensei said quietly. And honestly, it is the secret of life too. You have to know what to add, sure, but way more importantly, you have to know what to leave out. Chapter 5. Beyond the paper. Fast forward 6 months. Aiko was standing in her own studio now, about to teach her very first student. The room smelled like ink and old paper, and that same peaceful feeling. On the wall, she had hung just one painting, a branch of cherry blossoms, her first ever sumi-e piece. Not perfect, not detailed in the traditional sense, but completely alive. She was thinking about what she would tell this new student, about the 4 treasures, sure, about the different strokes, about ma and emptiness and breathing. But more than any of that, she was thinking about what Tanaka-sensei had actually taught her, the real lesson underneath everything. That sumi-e was never just about painting technique. It was a completely different way of seeing the world, a different way of living your life. Because here's the thing, in life, just like in sumi-e, you cannot control absolutely everything. You cannot keep layering correction on top of correction, endlessly trying to reach some impossible perfection. Sometimes you just have to commit fully, without hesitating, without the comfort of being able to go back and fix it later. You have to trust your preparation, trust your practice, trust your breath, and you have to honor the emptiness too, the spaces between your actions, the pauses, those quiet moments of stillness where real meaning actually lives. Because life, just like sumi-e, is not about cramming every single moment with activity, not about filling every silence with noise, not about covering every space with absolute certainty. It is about knowing what actually matters, adding only what is essential, and leaving room to breathe, room for possibility, room for other people to co-create meaning with you. This was what those ancient Japanese painters figured out centuries ago in their quiet studios. That the most powerful art is never the art that shows you every single detail. It is the art that invites you to actually see for yourself. Look, if this story hit you somewhere deep, if you felt that tightness in your chest start to release, if you saw yourself in Aiko's struggle between needing control and just wanting to breathe freely, then you already know exactly why Zen mindset exists. We dig into these ancient Eastern philosophies not because they are old and traditional, but because they are timeless, because they still work. Every single week, we uncover another technique, another practice, another way of seeing that can genuinely transform not just how you create things, but how you live your entire life. So, do me a favor. Subscribe to Zen Mindset right now, hit that bell so you never miss a video, and come with us on this journey from control to breath, from perfection to presence, from fear to actual freedom. Trust me, you will not regret it. Before we go, let me tell you one last thing Tanaka-sensei told Aiko, something she never forgot. The master, he said, is not the person who makes the most strokes. The master is the person who knows which strokes not to make. Life is going to throw a million opportunities at you to add more noise, more busy work, more control, more endless pursuit of perfection. The real wisdom? Knowing what to leave out, honoring the empty spaces, trusting that what you have already created with full commitment and breath and presence is enough. Just remember this. The next time you are staring at a blank page, the next time perfectionism has you paralyzed, the next time you forget how to breathe, you do not need more. You actually need less. You need the essence. You need space. You need one single committed stroke, and then another one, and then the courage to just stop. This is sumi-e. This is life. This is your path forward.